Hola, everybody. Um, I- it doesn't even matter. If you're watching this, I hope you're being entertained. And if you get some value from it, that's even that much better. So now I want to address the 40s and 50s ages. I'm talking about ages, not years. Um, and these are the post-Africa days. Um, one of the big ones that occurred. And recovery from Africa took a while. I just didn't sail in and resume life. Let's put it that way. There were many shifts in my mind. And one of the biggest ones was really up until this point, I had been a lesbian, as I've said previously somewhere. And I chose to be sexual with only women. And after Africa, I really saw this belief that drove me to be a lesbian. Now, this may not be the case. Again, everyone's script is different. So, just because I am finding some truth to mine that differs with yours, don't then ignore it. Learn from the mind training of how to see the things that do bother you differently. Okay. Because everyone's script is different. Everyone's script is different. So I came back from Africa and I really thought, what drove me to be a lesbian was really a father that I could not be with and a gang rape that made no sense to me, but it fueled my need to separate from men who I saw as being in power. And I really somehow, I don't know, again, divine intervention is all I can say. I thought, okay, I've given 20 years to being with women, and I have loved many women, loved deeply, 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 and profoundly. And for whatever reason, we just couldn't live together or be together. And so then I thought, okay, it's not women, it must be men, because I was still looking for the soulmate. And so I started dating only men. And anyway, um, wild transition. I'm just having thoughts of this, and it was a wild transition. So I started dating men, and somehow that felt like that made sense. And so the next 20 years of my sexual life were with men. Um, Also, post Africa, Mizrek, who I left back in the camp in Kakuma, my friend. Oh, God bless her. She was a woman with a mission, is a woman with a mission. Anyway, she called me from New York. The IRC selected several women refugees to go to the UN and speak about the specific problems of women refugees. And so Mizrach was one of them. And she had just given birth to a child. And so, yeah, I'm not even going to share. I thought, oh, they're picking her because she's going to definitely go back to the camp. Well, much to all of our surprises, she called me while she was in New York City. Here, they took these women from refugee camps around the world. I think there were 30 of them, and put them up in hotels in New York City, fed them 3 meals a day, and then expected them to go back into the camps, which I don't know, probably a lot did. Mizrach didn't want to do it that way. There was some stubbornness in her too. She called me and said, help me. So I sent her bus fare because I knew she couldn't get on a plane because they'd be watching the planes. I sent her bus fare. I was living in Santa Fe, New Mexico at the time, and said, come out, I'll pick you up at the bus station. We'll figure it out. So she traveled, she escaped. She came out on bus to New Mexico. I picked her up. And so it began the saga of Mizrach and Calico. And she lived with me for, I guess it was about 6 months. And it was difficult. I lived in a very small place, one bath. place near downtown Santa Fe. And, it triggered a lot for me, is all I can say. And yet I knew I loved her. She knew she loved me, and we just kept on. Again, I was getting, because I was in practice, and practice was shifting a lot. And a lot of it was I was starting to see that I couldn't do it the same way. I just couldn't do the practice the same way. And Ms. Rec had a lot of problems when she came out here. I mean, the IRC was calling me saying Ms. Rec needs to go back. And I'm saying, hey, not my deal. You need to talk to Ms. Rec. And if she feels like going back, she'll go back. If not, not my problem. And she got the ear of a high, what was his name? Domenici. I think it was Domenici. Anyway, he had done a lot of work with China and the UN, and she got a hold of him. He was from Santa Fe. And she got him to sponsor her. So she was able to eventually bring her baby over. I mean, it was it was a long ordeal. She needed to learn how to drive. I had a standard car with a standard shift, and I tried doing it, and I certainly didn't have the patience for teaching someone how to drive a standard. So if someone else did that, I mean, she really picked her way about in this country. And I must say, just to finish up the story of Mizrak, she left after 6 months, and there was so much going on for her, and she went up to Los Alamos and was taking care of a house up there. She eventually moved to Los Angeles, where she started her life. And, the guy she was in camp with, he made it out. And so they started a family, and she has three beautiful children. And we reconnected because I lost track of her. And we didn't communicate for, wow, 30 years. And it was just recently she found me, and we had the most delightful conversation, because I was having a lot of anger come up, which that's been my whole life. It's just outgassing anger. And I've been wanting to talk to her just to say, you have to understand, I loved you deeply. And, unfortunately, you picked me to come over and live with. And she got it totally. She was just saying, I'm one of her gifts from God. And, it is what it is. There was so much healing in that conversation. I love her. And I'm so thankful that our lives met. And all that happened, and it was all guided and perfect. Then these were also the 40s and 50s. I met Kit. Okay, so I had a friend, Rob. Rob and I would go out on dinners on weekend, and we, have these fairly philosophical conversations about God and life. And he would always talk about Kit. It was a teacher that he would call periodically. Kit lived in, I think, at Ojai at the time in California. And Kit would come up in the conversation, and Rob would say, Kit said, and as soon as he said that, I was like, oh, what did Kit say? Because Kit made sense to me. I mean, everything that man shared was like, wow, okay. I mean, it was really revelatory and huge. And it was about a year into hearing about Kit, I asked Rob, I said, Rob, I really want Kit's phone number. I want to talk to him. And it was very expensive, but it felt worth it to me. Money was no object. So I think I was paying $250 a session at that time, but it was worth it to me. And Rob said, before he gave me the number, Rob said this. He said, okay, I need to give you a caveat before I give you Kit's number. He said, I've given over the years Kit's number to several people. And he said, and most of them became furious with Kit, and then stopped being my friend. And he said, I just want you to really know I'm giving you Kit's number, but I don't want to lose your friendship. And it made sense, how it made sense. And so I got Kit's number, and I started calling him, once every other month, once a month, depending on what was going on. I'm only contacted him when there was something that really I needed clarity with. And he was I can see now, he basically taught people how to pull back their projections. He would not accept that something was being done to anybody for any reason. And he would give it to you. And it was confronting a lot. Every time he'd do it, it's like, really? I mean, I remember I had a horse that had foundered, and for about a month, I didn't know if she was going to make it. And the vet would come out. And one night I brought the vet out to put her down, and the vet said, let's give it a couple more days. And I was putting her in styrofoam blocks because her feet were just a mess. And she pulled back through it. And I talked to Kit about it. And Kit said, I wrote it down. Oh, how amazing. You dreaming up your beloved horse, Raina, and causing her suffering. How much are you abusing yourself? How much are you abusing yourself? Now, I've since to come understand with the Course in Miracles, all judgments, all, capital ALL, underline it several times, and I'll say it again, all judgments are self-abuse. They come back and they're ours, they're projections. And it's that which we cannot harbor a clear thought about. It's easier to project on something else than we can have those thoughts. So, that's the bottom line orientation to mind training. You've got to pull back the projection. You have to first see your thinking thoughts. And second, you got to pull back the projection and own it's your belief, and then work it out with God. I call it contemplation and prayer. I really think about it. I ask for help. Holy Spirit, help me see this differently. And sometimes it takes a while. And all I can say is it's worthy. You're worthy. You're worthy of giving yourself that time to really go deep into it and figure out why you're projecting it. So Rob was, and Kit was a huge healing person for me during my 40s and 50s. I saw, it's funny, I never met him. We just talked on the phone, and it was life-changing. Oh yeah, 9/11. Can we talk 9/11 for a moment? It was a big day for me. It was kind of like Africa in one day. Okay. So I 9/11 started. I woke up next to this man that I loved dearly. I wanted to marry. And we made sweet, beautiful love. And it was some of the best. I had a lot of good lovemaking in this parable. But then we got up and turned on the TV to watch the trade towers come down. And it really was devastating to me. I mean, it's this idea of man's inhumanity to man, which is making the illusion true, just hit me, slapped me in the face, punched me in the face. And then I went to work. He came pick me up. We went to lunch, and we went to this, I can see why he did it now. Went to this very busy diner. The tables were right next to each other. And he shared with me that he had met someone else and that it was over with us. And I was like, here I am sitting scrunched in here, just sitting with, oh my God, now what? And so he drove me back and dropped me off. And I just said to him, which was saying to myself, and I heard it, I said, I hope you find what you're looking for. And I really somehow I got, those aren't words for him. Those are words for me. I hope you find what you're looking for. And that was the last day I ever had sex. It was the last day I was ever in a relationship, because I really got, okay, I gave 20 years to women, 20 years to men, and it's the same thing. And that's not where lessons were coming for me. Lessons were coming elsewhere, but not from relationships. And so I really let go of all relationships at that point and really started looking, what am I looking for? And up until this point, I had been using ACIM. It was 3 texts at the time. And I had been using it as a doorstop. Okay. And that was when I really dove into ACIM. I thought, I'm going to figure out what Jesus is saying in this book because it made no sense to me. It was a very difficult text for me to read because it was written in iambic pentameter, which is Shakespeare. I hated Shakespeare. I couldn't figure Shakespeare. Whatever reason, it didn't get in. And that's the way it was. And I later learned that Jesus used iambic pentameter because Judith, who was taking this information, loved Shakespeare, and it was a way Jesus could keep her entertained while he was giving her this information. And the reality is she didn't believe any of it. So I stopped using it as a doorstop and I really dove into it. And I set up like 5 Course in Miracles meetings a week in Santa Fe and did a lot of book study. I'm not saying it's bad, but I wasn't applying it. In fact, my favorite line for myself is I'd go to these meetings and I'd be all holier than thou reading, we share readings, say whatever we said, close the book, and then I'd go out and be an asshole. And so I knew something wasn't connecting, but it was worthwhile reading it and rereading it and rereading. I mean, I don't know how many times I've read the course, but it finally started to get in a little. My chiropractic practice was beginning to change. There was so much, it was starting to bother me that I basically was just a vessel for complaints. People would come in, my leg hurts, my neck hurts, my back hurts, and it was hard being with it. And so I spent, pretty much the 40s and 50s kind of letting that go until I finally made the decision, we have to change this around, because I'm coming home just feeling beat up at the end of the day. And I knew there was something, and it really pointed to this, which was I can't hear complaints anymore. I just can't hear complaints. And a part of that was Africa for me too. It's like what we complain about over here is kind of a joke. And yet it's all part of each of ours understanding. And are we willing to see it as a lesson I would learn no matter what culture I'm in? So at that time it was after, no, it was just before cancer. I can't remember. It all gets mushed in there. I decided that I couldn't hear complaints. So I set it up with my patients. It's like, you can come and see me and I will do whatever I'm going to do on your back. I just don't want to hear you tell me what's wrong. Okay. I couldn't hear what's wrong anymore. I just couldn't. And so or we can be in silence. I said either's fine for me. You can be in silence, or or you can talk about what you love about your life. Those are your 2 options. I'll continue seeing you, but you need to tell me what you love about your life or have a silent day. And I'll do whatever I do. And I know you'll feel better just because I know you'll feel better. And so that was huge. And it was the beginning to really get medicine, chiropractic, or anything doesn't last. There's no resolve to suffering in the body. The body suffers because the body suffers. And this was a biggie for me. It's like, what am I doing? With some people, they seem to get better, others don't. And it was a constant inquiry in my head of, I don't quite get how to change this. And Jesus, of course, answers it in the Course in Miracles. It's cause and effect. So medicine, all medicine, alternative or otherwise, is based on cause and effect. You're around lead, you get lead toxicity, you get cancer. You're around people with COVID, you get COVID, you suffer. That's cause and effect. It's all nonsense. Jesus says there's only one true cause, that's love. There's only one effect from that cause, love. So anything else is the ego's design to create separation. Cause and effect are different. And so then we start believing this cause creates this effect. And it's an evil one, is all I can say. And if you're, of the mind to do this, start taking cause and effect seriously and look at how you put things together, that this is happening because of this. And really the only true answer to that is this happened because. You created it. It's a lesson you would learn. That's it. Nothing else. So everything was dismantling. Everything was without a cause, and this is from the text 28. Without a cause, there can be no effects. And yet without effects, there is no cause. And that's where we're being asked to be. And that's the power of now, Eckhart Tolle. It's like the power of now. There is no cause, there is no effect. It's just this moment of now. Course in Miracles tells us this moment of now is just a lesson I would learn. And there's lots of them. You know, if you want a quick fix, this isn't it. Don't even begin this process. If you truly want to unwrap while you're here, this is the way to do it. So with that, I say, love you and thank you. Until next time. Oh, next time we're going to be talking about the shootout at the Laughing Palomino. It's one of my greatest parables, most extreme. Kit even said, you are one of the most creative thinkers, because after it happened, he was the first person I called. He said, you are the most creative thinker I have ever met. And Suzanne, this is what started this whole process. Suzanne, my producer, she loved this story, and I agree. It's quite extraordinary, and it changed me deeply. So anyway, we'll talk about, I'm calling it the the shootout at the Laughing Palomino. Anyway, goodbye all. Till next time. Love you.